Hey guys, this is a Patreon Q&A. If you would like to be in next week's video, simply check out the link in the description and you can sign up there. I'm also going to be going into spoilers for all of the series that I'm going to be talking about. Kingsley asks, did Genos actually die in the new chapter of One Punch Man? So it's certainly not looking good for him at this point, but let me go over what exactly happened in chapter 166 so that we can better answer this question. So at this point, Garo has become so powerful that he's just emitting cosmic radiation, and as he's walking down the heroes, they're all like succumbing to radiation sickness. And out of nowhere, Genos, who is just a torso at this point, hurls himself like into Garo in an attempt to stop him, because being a cyborg, he's one of the few people left who isn't affected by Garo's cosmic radiation. And of course, this does nothing to Garo because he's just beyond powerful at this point, and there's not really much that Genos can do in his current state. Then he holds up Genos and acknowledges that he is Saitama's disciple. He knows this because Genos told him in chapter 83, and he's remembered that whole time. So after a tussle with Blast, Garo realizes that he can become even stronger at this point, and remembers that Saitama wasn't going all out on him. And then he figures, if I can copy Saitama at his full power and refine it, then I can for sure win. And then he realizes that he could get Saitama to go full power if he straight up kills his disciple in Genos. And then he plunges his fist through Genos and pulls out his core. Then Saitama shows up, unfortunately, afterwards and is noticeably distraught. Then Garo throws Genos' core at Saitama, and we see Genos on the ground, who at this point has like half a head and looks as dead as he could be, I guess. Now also, there's like a span of time that's missing from this sequence, because before Garo goes through Genos' chest, he still has like a full head. So after the screen goes black, something happens and he takes half of Garo's head off, and Bang has also collapsed too. So either he's taken out Bang as well, or Bang has just finally succumbed to the radiation sickness. Either way, there's moments that we're not privy to at this point. But that brings us to the question of, is Genos dead? And I'll say that there's certainly a possibility, but I just don't think it's likely. Mainly because of the Mad Cyborg storyline. That's still one of like the big, long, lingering storylines in the series, and it's kind of integral for Genos to be a part of it. Especially because we have the setup with him and Drive Knight earlier on in this arc, and in my opinion, as an individual, I believe that Drive Knight is the Mad Cyborg. It's fine if you don't agree, but I think that Genos, kind of needs to be around so that he can wind up fighting Drive Knight at the end. Also, the simple fact that Genos is alive in the webcomic currently. He goes on to do plenty of things after this, and is ultimately, one of the core aspects of the power triangle between Drive Knight and Metal Knight. So Genos is extremely likely going to survive this. Now, again, there's a chance that he might die, and one just decided to remove him from the story, and everything else goes in a completely different direction. Now, how is Genos going to survive this? Well, I think it's the core. That's the big thing that we should be paying attention to here, because it's still pretty much intact, and I think that's purposely done. And also maybe because Garo didn't want to fully pull the trigger on executing Genos. Even as far gone as Garo is at this point, I still don't think he truly wants to kill. He'll get extremely close to that line, like he'll stand right at it, but he's not going to cross it. And I think that's being shown here with him not just crushing Genos' core. Because as long as the core is still intact, then maybe Genos can be brought back. Now, as for the half of his face missing, I'm assuming half of his brain is too. Now, can Genos still live with just a half of brain? Maybe. Considering that Dr. Kuseno is still alive in the manga's continuity, I guess he can just do whatever kind of technology magic that he does and just bring Genos back after this point. And, Genos might have amnesia or something, and then we go into a little stretch of chapters where that's a thing. Or Kuseno gets help from somebody else. Maybe Blast helps him, possibly. But regardless, some way, somehow, Genos is gonna make it through this. Jimmy P asks, what was Joy Boy's demise? Was he executed? So this is a great great question, and to be honest, we don't really know anything at this point. I mean, we know that he's dead, but I think him being executed is probably the likely answer. I think it for sure has something to do with Emu, and she was probably the reason why he was executed. And it could also line up with like the other significant deaths in the series that were like execution based, like Roger, Noland, and then like the false execution with Luffy at Logtown. So Joy Boy was probably executed as well, and he was probably smiling too. And it might have been him willingly being executed, similar to Roger, and it was probably for the greater good. Like maybe him dying allowed his friends or Nakama to survive in the process, so that they could go on to make sure that, you know, everything was put in place so that it could eventually get to the point of where the story is now. Geruda asks, going off of the recent fight with Blast, do you think the other heroes all need a power boost to remain relevant? Him, Saitama, and Garo all seem too powerful at the moment in relation to everyone else. So I think they're going to get power boosts for sure, but it's very unlikely, at least in my opinion, that many, if not all of the other characters are going to reach where Blast, Saitama, and Cosmic Fear Garo are. I mean, Tatsumaki probably, but the rest of the S-Class heroes, it just doesn't seem likely at this point, and that's fine. I think Blast kind of needs to be in a league of his own, but as long as there's not like an overexposure to like these ultra powerful characters outside of Saitama, I think the other characters won't get stale as a result. Garrett M asks, what serious moves would you like to see from Saitama that we haven't seen in either the webcomic or the manga? So I'd like to see Saitama do something that really shows his speed. We know that he's the fastest, obviously, but I'd like to see something like serious lunge or serious sprint or something. Something that really shows like, wow, he's that fast. Like, I don't know, he goes around the earth in like 1 second or something. You know, some kind of like Superman-esque. Nathan W asks, do you think Fuzzy is going to end up being a big bad, or is he going to be more of a side character throughout the upcoming arc? So yeah, I do think he's going to be somewhat of a big bad, maybe not the big bad, but he'll be really important, just as important as Psychos was / is. I think Fuzzy is for sure an underling of God at this point, whether he's aware of it or not, and I think it's eventually going to be made apparent that he's going to be like one of God's Akatsuki, like one of his like main disciples on his team by the end of the series. Scottish Wolf asks, is it really possible that King is injured from the radiation? So yeah, I was surprised by this too. I was expecting some kind of out for him. Like, I don't know, something happens as to where he's shielded from the radiation, like maybe through Fubuki or Tatsumaki, or just for some odd reason he's just resistant to it. I'm not one. I can't craft, you know, the amazing character that King is and the situations that he gets into, but I'm really surprised to see him this publicly vulnerable. But at least, you know, he was vindicated by, you know, protecting Tatsumaki and Fubuki still. William H asks, are you impressed with Silverfang's immunity to the cosmic radiation? Yes, I think that was awesome. I mean, especially the fact that we see like everyone else, you know, being affected by it, but Bang is right there, you know, closer than anyone else, and he's just taking it simply because he's just a beast. Like, that's what it ultimately comes down to. Like, he doesn't have the resistance that Blaster Genos has. He's just an extremely powerful human who can just resist it for an extended amount of time. I mean, he'll eventually succumb to it, as Blast said, and which I think he does in the chapter. But yeah, I love it. Silverfang's just a beast. MajinBoros asks, do you think that Garo is going to die by the serious punch? Because Saitama is literally throwing a serious punch at Garo with killing intent, and there's no way Garo survives the punch. So I don't think Saitama is going to kill him. There's still a lot of story left to be told for Garo, I mean, as we've seen in the webcomic, but just even past that too. But your prediction here of him punching the god powers out of him, I think that's like, I think something's going to happen where Saitama just overwhelms him and eventually knocks it out of him or unavatars him, something like that. I don't think he's going to kill him though. Little Ferrari asks, what did you think about the fight at the end of the latest episode of The Boys? I thought it was awesome to see Homelander actually get some shots landed on him. Jensen Ackles is a great Soldier Boy. So that episode was everything. Like, especially like the ending fight. Oh my god, just incredible. I think I pretty much got high on dopamine from that sequence. Just, it's so satisfying to finally see Homelander tested and pushed like that, and, you know, implied to be almost killed, and to see him that vulnerable. oh man, it was everything. And yes, big fan of Jensen Ackles now. This is my first exposure to him. I was aware of his popularity with Supernatural and all that, but I never watched that show. And that's the only thing that I really knew him from. But yeah, he's already become one of my favorite characters for sure. I can't wait to see more of him. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to die at least by the last episode, but I've really been enjoying his run so far. ShadoStorm asks, do you think Metal Knight could have soloed the Monster Association? To be honest, at this point, I don't really think so. I mean, also, we don't really know much about the full potential of Metal Knight. I mean, he's implied to be, you know, ultra powerful, of course, and he was hyped up by Psychos by saying, like, he was one of only 4 heroes who could have taken down Elder Centipede. But I don't necessarily know if that means that he could just take down the entire association itself. I mean, considering that he can allegedly take down Elder Centipede, he could, you know, probably take down a lot of the cadres, but all of them at once, including Orochi, can't give him that much credit yet without a little more evidence from him, you know. That's pretty much it for the video today, guys. I want to thank all of my patrons for continuing to support me. Guys, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And once again, if you would like to be in next week's video, simply check out the link in the description. You can sign up there. And if you like the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day and I'll see you in the next one.